Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The royal family are reportedly fearing for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, especially worrying whether he will be able to cope in his lonely new home. Buckingham Palace announced that Andrew would no longer be known as the Duke of York on October 17th, with all of his remaining titles and honors stripped. Andrew, 65, and Sarah Ferguson, 66, will also soon move out of Royal Lodge, their 30-room home that they have shared since 2003. Writing on her Fresh Hell Substack, royal biographer Tina Brown has shared the king's fears for his younger brother. She wrote, "Charles, I am told, is not looking to punish his pampered brother to the point, he says, that he can't cope." She added that if the king doesn't give his brother a certain level of comfort, Andrew may be left to do one major thing. She added, if Charles were not to pay his brother's bills and ensure a certain level of comfort, then he may only have one thing left to do. Andrew would have only his secrets to sell. Speaking of Prince William, who thinks King Charles is being too soft when it comes to Andrew, Ms. Brown added, William is demanding Andrew be given a limit in line with the living expenses of a commoner, since that is what he is now. But added, Andrew scoffs at the idea of that. This emerged after it was reported that some members of the royal family are said to be concerned about a major change in Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. According to royal expert Robert Jobson, some members of the family have become extremely concerned for the mental health of both Sarah and Andrew. Speaking on the Sun's YouTube channel, author Robert Jobson said, I think even members of the royal family who have taken action are concerned about both their mental health. I think that, most of all, you've got to be concerned about the victims of the Epstein scandal, and that to me is the biggest worry. They're human beings. A lot has been taken away. For decades, Prince Andrew lived a life surrounded by privilege, protection, and palace walls that kept the outside world firmly at bay. But in the quiet aftermath of scandal, shifting royal priorities, and hard financial realities, the Duke of York now faces a future that is uncomfortably small compared to the grand life he once knew. And behind palace doors, a growing fear has begun to take shape. What if Andrew simply can't cope with the loneliness of his new home? The question is not just about real estate. It is about isolation, identity, and a man who once stood at the center of the monarchy's power now forced to live on its margins. From royal splendor to shrinking circles. For years, Andrew resided at the sprawling Royal Lodge, a vast 30-room property nestled within Windsor Great Park. It was a symbol of his status, his military prestige, and his deep ties to the late monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, who reportedly supported him financially even after his disastrous fall from grace. But since her death, the royal landscape has changed dramatically. Under the firm leadership of King Charles III, the monarchy has embraced a slimmer, more cost-conscious future. That future leaves far less room for disgraced royals quietly living in luxury. With Andrew financially cut off from public funding and no longer a working royal, the once comfortable Royal Lodge reportedly became an unsustainable burden. The solution? A much smaller residence, rumored in royal circles to be none other than Frogmore Cottage. Once home to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, Frogmore now stands as a powerful symbol of royal transition. Where one controversial royal chapter closed, another may open. A man alone with his reputation. For Andrew, this move is not simply a change of address. It represents the full weight of his social exile. Since stepping back from public duties following his association with Jeffrey Epstein, Andrew has been effectively erased from royal life. No military patronages, no public engagements, no balcony appearances. What remains is silence. Insiders have long described Andrew as a man who thrives on status, ceremony, and routine. The loss of those pillars has reportedly taken a severe toll on his mental well-being. Those close to the family privately worry that moving him into a smaller, quieter property could worsen that isolation. He once had aides, chauffeurs, guards, staff. Now he barely sees anyone. One royal source has suggested, The fear is that he'll unravel when the reality truly hits. And that fear is no small thing inside a family that has witnessed the devastating effects of isolation before. Why the royal family is genuinely worried. The royal family's concern isn't rooted in sympathy for past behavior, it's rooted in pragmatism and history. They understand better than anyone how rigid royal life can break even the strongest individuals. Andrew's entire identity was built on being the Duke of York. Stripped of his public role, stripped of military honors, and now possibly stripped of his grand home, he faces a painful existential question. Who is Prince Andrew without the monarchy? Royal experts believe the threat is not just emotional, but psychological. Long periods of isolation, compounded by public humiliation and a lack of purpose, are a dangerous mix for any individual, especially one who never lived a normal private life. The family's deepest fear is not scandal anymore. That damage is done. Their fear is collapse, financial strain, and quiet humiliation. Andrew's financial reality is far harsher than his past suggests. Without royal funding, he must now cover security, living expenses, and maintenance himself. Sources have indicated he relies heavily on private support from friends and quietly receives assistance from Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. The humiliation is profound for a man who once represented Britain on the world stage. Where once he entertained heads of state, he now measures utility bills. This shift is said to have shaken Andrew deeply. The move from Royal Lodge to a modest cottage would serve as the loudest possible reminder that his royal safety net is gone. A lonely cottage with heavy shadows. Frogmore Cottage is picturesque on the surface, neat gardens, respectable privacy, and historic charm. But for Andrew, it could feel like exile rather than refuge. The house is famously linked to the royal controversy surrounding Harry and Meghan. To now become the home of another sidelined royal only deepens its symbolism as a place for those who are no longer fully inside the institution. At Royal Lodge, Andrew had space to walk, entertain close companions, and maintain the illusion of royal normalcy. At Frogmore, every room would echo differently, with fewer footsteps, fewer voices, fewer buffers between him and the outside world. Loneliness, for someone used to constant royal noise, can be devastating. King Charles' quiet balancing act. For King Charles, this situation is a minefield. Publicly, he must be seen as firm and responsible with taxpayer resources. Privately, he is still a brother who understands the consequences of emotional collapse behind palace walls. He cannot be seen as protecting Andrew unjustly, but neither can he allow a royal family member to deteriorate quietly under crushing isolation. Thus, the compromise: smaller home, reduced funding, but continued protection and discreet monitoring of Andrew's well-being. It is a delicate balance between duty and blood. The terrifying possibility the palace won't voice aloud. Behind closed doors, a darker fear looms, one that no royal advisor wishes to utter publicly. The fear is not scandal. The fear is breakdown. Years of pressure, disgrace, and retreat from public life have narrowed Andrew's world to just a few rooms and a shrinking circle of supporters. If Frogmore becomes his reality, those walls will close in even tighter. The royal family has seen what happens when royal isolation turns into emotional disaster. They do not want history to repeat itself in another tragic form. The final isolation of a once powerful prince, once a decorated military officer, once a trusted envoy, once a prince welcomed across the globe. Now, Prince Andrew may soon become a solitary figure pacing the quiet grounds of a cottage most associated with royal rejection. The contrast is brutal. For the public, his fall may feel like justice. For the family, it feels like a slow, uncomfortable reckoning with what happens when royal privilege finally runs out. And their greatest fear remains hauntingly simple. If Andrew truly cannot cope with this lonely new chapter, what happens next?